Is life really all that different in Italy? Hey, what's up? I'm Rafael di Furia, aka Rafi D is me, and I am back at it again on another beautiful Friday night. Last week we spoke about some of the pros and cons of living in Italy, and this week I wanted to talk about something a little bit similar because I got a question on Facebook that very much had to do with that subject of coming to Italy and some of the adjustments you might have to make. Alright, I'm gonna need my glasses for this one. Dominic on Facebook wrote, Rafi, can you talk about some of the things we Americans take for granted? Television, movies, department stores / malls, pharmacies, internet, and online delivery like Amazon. Thanks as usual, I look forward to seeing your posts on Fridays, and Dominic, I look forward to seeing you back here on Fridays. But before we get too much further into the video, if you would like to see more content like this about moving to Italy, Italian citizenship, and more, please feel free to subscribe with that notification bell turned on, and if you could also give this video a like, I would really appreciate it, as it does help the channel grow. Alright, so let's take this step by step. It's 2018, and Italy is not living in the dark ages by any means. Lots of people here do have televisions, lots of people here do go to the movies. They're all showing the latest flicks. But when it comes to television and movies, it's not so common that you will find them in English. When it comes to television, there are some television providers that do provide channels where you can actually switch the audio track from the original language to a dubbed language. And there are stations like Discovery and other channels that you might be familiar with that do have content over here. But when it comes to content in English, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Sky actually has the most options for content in English. And when it comes to movie theaters, it depends on where you are. Especially if you're in a larger city, you'll be more likely to find at least one movie theater that will show movies in English with Italian subtitles, or movies in their original language, whatever it may be. But for example, where I live currently in Alto Adige, there's only one movie theater that I know of that shows movies in English, and they only do one movie once a month in the evening, and it's a random evening in the middle of the week. And of course, it's always on a night that I have to work, so yeah, I haven't seen a movie in a long time. But then let's move on to the subject of internet. You can get it basically everywhere. I have an LTE connection on my phone, I have fiber internet in my home, and the town that I happen to live in does actually have free Wi-Fi in the center, but usually my LTE ends up being a little bit faster than that. In theory, with my internet connection, I'm supposed to have up to 100 megabytes, but because I live just at the edge of where the fiber box can actually reach, I end up getting only about maybe between 40 and 60. But that's still pretty darn good, and that's the best internet connection I've ever had, and I only pay about $24.95 per month. And then, like I've mentioned in my video about cell phones, I've currently got 30 gigs per month on my phone, plus an extra 5 gigs on a separate SIM card, all for about $12.95 per month. Fiber isn't available in all of Italy, but a lot of the country does have fiber, and there are places where you can get up to 200 megabytes per second. Or at least that's what they advertise. I'm going to talk about stores and malls in a second, but while we're still on the subject of the internet, I thought it would be quickly worth touching on online shopping. Yes, Amazon does exist in Italy. It's amazon.it, and you can get really fast shipping, and even where I live, it's not such a central place, but when I've ordered from them, it's never been more than maybe 3 days shipping, and that's not even with like any sort of speedy sort of delivery option selected. And there are plenty of other websites in Italy where you can do some online shopping. And throughout a lot of the country, you can actually get shipping quite fast and even overnight in a lot of cases, or maybe if you're living in Sicily, 48 hours. But because Italy is within the EU, you can shop online from other countries. Amazon.it isn't always the cheapest option. Sometimes I've found that Amazon.de, Amazon Germany, can actually be a few euros less. Some things you'll even be able to find with free shipping depending on where you are, but maybe you might have to spend 5-10 euros shipping. But unlike Amazon in some larger cities in America, you're not gonna really be able to do your grocery shopping online, at least not on Amazon. I don't know what it's like in the larger cities, but where I live, doing your grocery shopping online isn't a thing yet. But because it's actually such a small area, it's actually really easy to just walk around and get everything that I need. But when we're going to be talking about stores, pharmacies, and malls, that's a little bit different than what you might be used to in the US. Italians, believe it or not, do shop at supermarkets, but the supermarkets here, many of them where I live close at about 7 or 7:30. But recently we just got a new place that opened up, and this is the big boy in town. They stay open until 9 p.m, believe it or not. And this is very common in Italy, that things tend to close a bit earlier. But when I find that my stash of chocolate is empty, replacing that chocolate isn't so easy at 8 or 9 at night. However, with this new place in town, that's changed a little bit. 24-hour convenience stores are not a thing here. In all the years that I've been coming to Italy and now having lived here, I have never seen or heard of a 24-hour store. Many pharmacies do close pretty early, like again, maybe between 6 and 7 o'clock. So it is not a bad idea to stay stocked up on things if you need them, if you have an emergency in the middle of the night. But you will find that a lot of pharmacies do have a 24-hour vending machine, although those generally only carry condoms and baby supplies. I guess they go together. Another thing that we take for granted in America, again to do with the hours that a store is open, you'll find that a lot of public offices, even private offices, and even stores might be closed from noon till 3 or 1 till 3 in the afternoon. And you'll even find a lot of banks closed during the afternoon too. Finding malls is not unheard of. Like, I live in a town of 40,000, and not far from where I live is a small mall. It's not all that big, there's not that many stores, but they have all of the important things, such as a large electronics store, which is very, very important. But the biggest thing, the number one ultimate thing that Americans take for granted, air conditioning. You'll find that air conditioning is very uncommon here, even in places that are really hot. And I'm not just talking about apartments, I'm talking about restaurants, stores, or even the few places you might find with air conditioning, like a mall or a supermarket. It won't be on all that high. It'll be on enough to take the edge off, but it's not like you're gonna need a sweater like you might need in some American supermarkets. Like the other day, I went out with a friend of mine just in the afternoon. We wanted to get something cool to drink to cool down, and we went into this place. I assumed, of course, it would be cool in there, but no, it was hotter in there than it was outside. Then later that evening, I met up with somebody else just to grab a quick bite to eat, and even sitting just outside of the door of the restaurant was too hot. Like, I was drenched within minutes. Maybe you will be able to find some apartments now. It's maybe more likely in a modern apartment that you might find air conditioning, but in general, finding an apartment with air conditioning isn't all that common, and you might actually have to buy yourself a little mobile unit. All in all, the differences exist, but I find them quite easy to live with, and it just takes a little bit of adjustment. But now, before I leave this off, a quick question. For those of you who do live here in Italy, what are some of the things that you maybe used to take for granted back in the past and now really, really miss? But for those of you who are thinking about living here, what are those little things that you just can't live without? From my own experience, I can say that you might find that some of those little things may not be a big deal, but some of the smallest things could be the biggest deal. Anyway, if you would like to see more content about moving to Italy, Italian citizenship, and more, please consider subscribing with that notification bell turned on. And if you could also give this video a like, I would really appreciate that, as it does help the channel grow. And if you would like to help make more videos like this possible, please consider becoming a patron over on Patreon. You can go to rafaeldifuria.com/Patreon. As per usual, this is an open conversation, so if you have any questions or anything to add to the conversation, feel free to leave it down below here on the comment section below here on YouTube, or always feel free to contact me over social media or email. And as always, I'm Rafael di Furia, aka Rafi D is me. Thank you for joining me on another beautiful Friday night. Looking forward to seeing you all next Friday. Hope you have a great weekend. Later.